No one will ever convince me that alcohol is good, and I hope other people realize that too. It was a relaxing nighttime during the spring season. I was just driving my car and was going home right after eating some food with my friends. I try my best to be safe when out there, especially when it is dark and I'm driving. A lot of unpredictable people out there that I just do not trust whatsoever. You can never be too safe when drivers with high ego are speeding on the streets. This is important information to keep in mind, by the way. Anyway, when I was casually waiting at a red light, I was just thinking to myself about going to sleep right when I make it back home. Waking up at around 6 a.m. with about 4 hours of sleep drained me out quite a lot, so I was just hoping I could make it back soon enough. When I continued to drive now, I felt some sort of impact from behind, which kinda confused me because I thought barely any cars were around. So when I turned around to see what it was, I saw some man in his car just remaining in his position. His car was literally colliding with my rear bumper, but why was he still waiting around? I noticed something when I looked at him again. He was holding some sort of glass bottle in his hands, which I couldn't tell what it was, but judging how his head movement and eyes were looking, there was very little choice to what else that could be. I honestly didn't want to confront this guy, but I don't like the idea of my car just being damaged because of a potential drunk driver. So, to verify my suspicion, it would be better for me to just go try talking to him and see from there. Obviously, I was quite nervous to do this, especially with it being nighttime, since around spring it would get dark quite later in the day, so most stores would be closed by the nighttime, along with less people being out in the streets, walking or driving. I think you guys might know what I mean. I opened my door and closed it as I was walking over to that guy's car. I was just glad there was a street light right nearby to us, so it wasn't like we were at some sketchy part of the street where it was completely pitch black. When I continued going closer, I could get more of a better view of this guy's condition. They were like multiple filled up glass bottles placed on his passenger seat. I then knocked on his car window and had my phone's flashlight out just to shine it out towards him a little. He was just sitting there and looked to be very tired or drowsy or something. I just stood there looking around, waiting for him to roll down his window maybe. Probably took him like a minute or two for him to finally do that. I started asking if he had intentionally collided with my car, but he didn't respond immediately. So when I was in the middle of repeating the same question again, he just interrupted me saying, "Yes, I did. Why?" Then he started laughing to himself for a while. It was almost clear that he was in a drunk state of mind right now, so I didn't really feel angry or anything, just frustrated that I couldn't talk to this guy properly with him in this condition. I asked if I could take his phone number so that he could potentially contact me and find a way to compensate me for the minor damage of my car. I don't know why, but he instantly switched up from his tired state to instantly looking at me straight in the eye and getting angry. This caught me off guard and I took a little step back, which was probably a good idea because he started shouting at me, then dropped his glass bottle right through the window. I got quite scared, but this guy just started driving off and speeding away. It happened so fast when he did this. I could just see his unstable driving from the distance and frequent braking when he was doing this. There were little to no other cars around anyway, so he was just mostly causing danger to himself, I guess. I got back inside my car and sat there, just thinking about that moment, and driving back home safely. Alcohol can really make people vulnerable and do crazy stuff. I was strongly advised not to drink that sort of stuff whatsoever. The bad situations that it can bring you will not be ideal, and the health problems it causes, it is not worth it. Being a young kid, around 12 years old, I never really had much time to go outside. When it was during the colder days like the winter season, it would almost always be a no. If I'd asked to go outside and play, even if I wore a jacket, it would be considered too cold, which I couldn't argue with because my parents were right about that. Since spring had come around, it obviously got warmer now and the sun would be shining down a lot more, so I'd asked my parents if I could go to the park now. They were hesitating quite a bit, but in the end agreed. The day before that in school, I let my friends know that if we could go to the park that Saturday, saying to let their parents know about it, of course. We were happy about this decision, but would try. Since we were quite young, I don't think me or any of my friends had personal devices to communicate with each other, so we had to rely on talking with each other beforehand, from like the previous day or something. It wasn't reliable most times, but we just had to deal with it. I was grateful that my parents had accepted this, because usually when one of us backs out or wasn't given permission to go, we wouldn't actually know until we got to the location and saw that they didn't come by. We planned to go at around 11 a.m, so once it was like 10:40 a.m, I would start to get ready and leave my place. One of my friend's older 15-year-old brother would be taking care of us, as my friend let me know in school that he would be going to the park just to play some basketball, which which was really good because I don't think me or my friend's parents would give us permission to go outside alone, being only 12-year-old kids of course, so this was great for us. The park wouldn't be too far away, and now that it was during springtime, the daylight would be lasting a lot more longer, which was also another good thing. I would be walking for like 10 minutes and finally made it to the park. The area I lived in was quite busy. It was like a street with a lot of stores and people around, so I don't think it would be too concerning for me when taking this 10-minute walk over to the park. I wasn't exactly the shortest kid as well, so this wasn't an issue for me. I started running to the basketball court, which was obviously outside, and I waited around for my friends. I spotted like one of them just inside of there with his older brother, and I went over to him. We started talking to each other when suddenly these random guys in black hoodies were entering the court with very aggressive movement. I got quite startled when seeing this, and the basketball court wasn't exactly the largest in size, so I wasn't sure if they'll play a game with my friend's older brother or something. Let's just refer to my friend's older brother as Michael. I looked up directly at Michael's face just to kind of see his facial expression and if he possibly knew who those guys were. Well, judging from that, I don't think so, because he looked quite confused and frustrated at the same time. So, within a minute later, after standing there staring at those guys, they started shouting towards us and telling us to get off the court, insulting us in the process. They looked quite older than Michael, so I was getting worried now. I let my friend and Michael know that we should just leave, but I guess he was insisting on resisting against them. I don't think he took those insults lightly, as right after saying that, Michael himself started shouting back and said, "We were here first, what do you mean?" I got even more scared now, because those guys then came speed walking right up to us, and me being a 12-year-old kid, I was completely vulnerable against this group of older teenage guys who were already aggressive from the start. Once they came up to us, all of them got very close to Michael's face and threatened to call more of their friends over, which after a while, Michael finally gave in and started leaving the basketball court. Me and my friend just followed along with him as fast as possible. He let me know that they will just go home as he wasn't in the mood anymore, so I decided to go back home as well. I don't know why those guys were that aggressive over such small things, but I think that helped me realize that it isn't worth trying to uphold your ego in these situations. Just let it go and accept that there are some people out there that could do a lot of harm just because of things like this that aren't even that serious. You never know what some people might be carrying too. During spring break, when many people would probably be playing video games late at night, I'll usually just be working out when everyone was asleep, probably like midnight, and then go to sleep just before 1 a.m. The reason why I did this was because it was definitely more relaxing than doing so when everyone is awake and the whole house is busy. I just did not feel focused in my workouts when this is the case. It was just a usual night, doing what I usually did. I was completing my workout with pull-ups, then using the bar to stretch my back for some time, and then would finish up. This was just something I would do to maintain my upper body strength and that stuff in general, but I'm getting sidetracked. Around 12:30 a.m., I started going upstairs and I usually did my workouts inside of the garage. The car wouldn't even be placed there anyway, so it was empty for the most part. So once I made it upstairs to brush my teeth in the bathroom, I slightly opened the window just to cool down a little. Even though in spring, it is pretty balanced in terms of the overall temperature, especially during the nighttime when it is more on the colder side. But after a workout, I just want to have that fresh cold breeze coming in. With the window being open, I could just barely see through outside, and my bathroom window was facing the backyard of our home. It was quite large in length, so I could kind of see the end of the backyard, which connects to some woods area. As I was brushing my teeth, just staring out the window, I saw some sort of light beaming through within the woods, to which I instantly gazed my eyes upon it almost immediately. I didn't want to take my eyes off of it, and continued looking at the direction, though the light turned off now and I just brushed it off anyway, completing my nighttime routine right after. Once I got into my bed, I was just using my phone for some time, just to listen to some YouTube videos before actually falling asleep, just looking at the ceiling while in bed. I didn't want to sleep while my phone was playing the video, otherwise by the morning time, my battery would be drained out by like 20% or more. It wasn't exactly the best phone, but it's whatever. So, when I was looking to my right side, the curtains closed completely except a tiny gap left open. I was looking towards it, and then all of a sudden, some white light slightly lights up the curtains and kinda goes through that small gap. I was kinda confused because there will be no lights turned on within my backyard or from my neighbor's home too at this time. So I slowly got up and peeked through the gap just to see if it was the same light from before, and unsurprisingly I had assumed correctly. However, this time it was a lot more closer than last time. Before, it was a lot more within the woods, a distance that wasn't too concerning. But now, they were almost close to my backyard area, still within the woods, but facing the light towards my bedroom window direction, which freaked me out a lot. I didn't know what to do in this situation. The light was still there, and I decided I would wait for some time before they left. It made me scared thinking that whoever was out there probably saw me in the bathroom before. I don't know if they had like a binoculars or something to see me, but why would someone be doing this in the first place anyway? I went back to my bed, just hoping to be gone, and fell asleep shortly after, waking up at around 7 a.m. I quickly looked out my window again just to see, but obviously no light was there anymore. I was relieved. My whole day went smoothly. I was just staying home all day anyway, preparing for school to start in the upcoming days. This whole thing still leaves me with so many questions. Who was actually out there? What intentions did they have shining that flashlight towards my bedroom window? The thing I found most concerning was the fact that they had shined that light for so long, which makes me think that they were just sitting there waiting for quite some time, probably waiting for me to show myself maybe. I don't know the reason why, but I don't like it. I even feel scared to go work out in the garage late at night now, fearing that someone is watching me through one of the windows. One thing to take from this is to always be aware even when you are at home. Sometimes the strangest of things might be happening without you even knowing. There are people that can be really creepy just like this, or even worse. I enjoy going outside, exploring nature spots like the woods, lakes, mountain type of areas, and many more. Since it was now spring, I can actually go to this nearby river area to try go fishing and potentially start some fire to cook the fish if I found any. To be honest, I have always wanted to do this for so long, but would feel very anxious when actually being ready for it. It was just the idea of preparing stuff to go there, and if things didn't work out or something, I feel like I would be in a tight situation. However, this one day I decided to finally build up the confidence and made sure to prepare the stuff I needed. I had a huge backpack that I could carry my stuff in, so I did exactly that and got ready to leave now, after packing up for quite some time. I wouldn't take my car in this journey, as like I said before, it was close by to me anyway, so it wouldn't be necessary. Everything seemed to be fine. I was just checking my pockets just to make sure I didn't forget certain items or anything. By the way, this was during the daytime, as there was no way I would actually make myself go to the river in such an isolated area with it being completely dark. I don't even see myself as an experienced outdoor person. I just enjoy being out here, but I try my best to do what I can, of course. It was probably like 25 minutes worth of walking I did, and I finally got to the location. The one thing I had to do fast was finding a good spot next to the river for me to set up my stuff and catch some fish. I had an old fishing rod, which wasn't in the best of conditions, but I still assumed it could put up with some light fishing in the shallow river water. I wasn't expecting to find some large fish anyway, so that would be no problem for me. I started doing that and patiently waited, just hoping to at least catch something decent. I took some rice with me too, so that I could cook the fish and eat it with that. It must have been like 10 minutes later. I decided I would give it a break for now and collect some sticks for the firewood. Even though the nighttime wouldn't come around soon, I just wanted to have this stuff ready and didn't want to look for it later on. I started walking around and collected some small to medium to large sticks along the way. That is also another reason why I like spring. There will be a lot of fallen branches and leaves around that are dropped from winter time, so I could easily pick up some dry leaves and maybe dead grass for the fire starter, and then the sticks to keep the fire going. I was doing this and felt like everything was actually going according to plan, but then I heard some random growling quite close by. It was coming from a nearby bush somewhere, but the sounds from the river flowing kinda made it hard to hear what it was, so I ignored it for now but remained cautious. I continued going ahead and saw some large animal tracks on the floor. It looked very visible, and this was when I stopped walking. I stood there, just looking around if any sort of animal had gone by, but couldn't see any that would be big enough for them to match the animal tracks I saw. I didn't want to take any more risks and decided I would just go back now, since me as a paranoid person, things weren't sitting right with me at this moment. I was speed walking back to my original position and constantly looked back, to which when I had finally gotten further away, I could kinda see in the distance that there was some large bear just scratching the tree or something. It looked very aggressive, and I was even more scared because the way I came through leads up very close to where the bear is located, so I wasn't exactly able to leave so easily. I decided I couldn't take everything back with me as it would slow me down way too much and also make too much sound when moving around with all that stuff. So I took my important items with me and slowly went more to the left as opposed to the right side, since that was where the bear was around. I tried to avoid stepping on any leaves and sticks, but it was very difficult when doing so. However, in the end I managed to make it out safely, jogging my way back home to get there faster. I am thankful I was able to get out of there without actually facing that bear, I should have been more aware of this sort of stuff, but at least I learned my lesson that day without any major consequences. I hope more people can also learn to do some research and preparation when going outdoors in these isolated nature areas. It can turn into a survival situation real fast, even if you get injured on your own or from a wild animal. I stayed home alone one night. It was just a usual Monday, and my parents had gone to my cousin's place. Since it was school the next day, I wasn't exactly too excited anyway. I mean, even if I wanted to stay up late, it would just result in me getting barely any sleep because I would have to wake up for school regardless. At around 10 p.m., I got myself into bed and tried falling asleep. Though I wasn't used to going to bed this early, I would usually go at around 11 p.m. or midnight. I still managed to get some decent sleep when sleeping at those times, but I wanted to try earlier that day. I turned off all my lights, and the whole house was also completely dark. It didn't scare me as long as I was in bed and was comfortable enough. However, I could hear some weird tapping sounds coming from downstairs. I initially thought it was coming from the bathroom with some water dripping or something, but the tapping sounded way too inconsistent for that to be the case. It would be loud at certain parts, then quiet, and then over again. I was getting concerned a little, but not enough to make me panic or whatever, just enough to keep me awake though. I grabbed my phone and tried to check my doorbell live camera recording to see if anyone was there, and to my surprise, there was actually some man just walking left and right out of the camera view while tapping on the door. I was terrified when seeing this and made sure to not lose sight of this just in case if the guy tried doing anything. I kept looking at the live camera recording, and all of a sudden, the guy ran up to the doorbell camera lens with his whole face covering my phone screen view. I threw my phone in the bed after being jump scared by this guy, waiting for like a minute or so to relax. My heart was literally beating so fast, and when I looked at my phone screen again, the guy wasn't there anymore. In fact, I could see him walking away in the distance, but he was walking backwards for some reason while looking towards my house and potentially the doorbell camera. I got off the camera view and just tried to listen to some nature sound effects to calm me down and help me fall asleep. To this day, I still have no idea who that person was, and I don't think I ever will. It still creeps me out thinking about that moment. Was that guy trying to pull off some scary prank on random people or something? And how would he even know if someone is inside with all the lights turned off? I assume the doorbell camera lights up when someone is viewing it, so that might have been why he suddenly turns his attention towards it. I am super grateful that he didn't try break in or anything, though I prefer to go with my parents now whenever I have the option to stay home alone. I never want to face that situation again. This is why it is really important to install and maintain security measures for home protection. It shouldn't be taken so lightly, with so many unexpected incidents that happen nowadays, along with a lot of younger people staying home alone. This has to be taken seriously, and I strongly recommend not to leave vulnerable family members on their own at home.